Bet horse racing on DRFTV. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing.
Hi everyone, it's closing weekend at Del Mar. 5 stakes races on closing weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 3 of them on Saturday. And we're going to talk about all 3 in separate segments, chronological order, starting with the Stormy Liberal. That's race number 5. Race number 7 is the Jimmy Durante for 2-year-old fillies at a mile. And the card ends with race number 9, the Grade 1 Hollywood Derby. This segment is about the newest addition to the Del Mar Stakes calendar, and it's the $100,000 Stormy Liberal Stakes. It's named after 2-time Breeders' Cup winner Stormy Liberal, who was claimed for $40,000 by trainer Peter Miller and subsequently won 2 Breeders' Cup sprints, including the 2017 Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint at Del Mar. A new addition to the fall stakes calendar and a much needed addition because there has not been a turf sprint, unrestricted turf sprint stake in Southern California since the Grade 2 Eddie D in early October, and the next scheduled one is December 31st. So we're looking at a huge gap with no turf sprint stakes until now. The Stormy Liberal, a new addition to the calendar. It's a 5-furlong grass stake, and let's take a look at the lineup. It's race number 5 on Saturday, and a field of 10 entered. It's kind of a wide open race, and one thing about these 5-furlong grass races at Del Mar, much like the 6.5 down the hill at Santa Anita, this abbreviated trip at Del Mar can definitely be a horse for course type layout. Yes, closers can win, but you have to be a closer who can win going 5/8. It's completely different than winning from behind going 6.5 down the hill. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about one of the contenders in this field, a horse who I think is the best horse in the race. And I didn't pick him 1-2. I'm referring to number 6, What Makes Sammy Run. Favoritism, I suspect, could go toward Lane Way, although Cold Heart has a shot as well, and so does Turn on the Jets. And again, I like What Makes Sammy Run as a racehorse, but I think he might be up against it on Saturday for reasons we'll discuss in a minute. Let's first talk about the horse I picked on top, and the horse I think is probably going to attract most of the attention. His name is Lane Way. He's a son of Into Mischief, and the last thing you want to do with an Into Mischief colt is turn him into a gelding. But really, last year, as a 4-year-old, trainer Richard Mandela had no choice. I mean, Lane Way was really going nowhere in his career. He had just completely floundered and stalled in the allowance rank. So what are you going to do with Lane Way? Well, they cut him. And since being gelded, that was last spring of 2021, Lane Way has made 5 starts, 2 wins, 3 seconds, including a pair of runner-up finishes in graded stakes races. And his most recent start is an indication of the current form of Lane Way. Let's take a look at the allowance race on November 6th at Santa Anita. And Lane Way is going to take the lead at the head of the lane. And I wonder if he started goofing around a little bit here. He made the front. Hey, my job is done. He didn't kick away, is my point. He didn't kick away like a top horse figure to. He was 70 cents on the dollar, expected to dominate this race by bettors, but he kind of got to loafing around a little bit on the front end, and he was able to hold off Lincoln Hawk. Lincoln Hawk is just an allowance horse. But Lane Way got the job done anyway, and I think he might have lost interest at the head of the lane. He's a sharp horse in good form. He can press the pace or he can come from behind, and I suspect that he'll probably come from behind on Saturday under Mike Smith, because trainer Dick Mandela also has another horse in the race by the name of Sumter, whose running style is the exact opposite. Sumter is a forwardly placed horse who will be ding-donging early from post 10. He has to go from out there, and the race probably going to set up for Lane Way. Now, I don't think Lane Way is a cinch by any stretch of the imagination. The reason is because Cold Heart has already defeated him. Cold Heart is one of 3 Phil D'Amato trainees in the Stormy Liberal on Saturday. And we're going to take a look at Cold Heart's win at Del Mar in late July. And there he is way at the back, right? I mentioned earlier, you can win a 5-furlong sprint at Del Mar rallying from behind. And that's exactly what Cold Heart did. He was last at the quarter pole, and he rallied outside. That's Laneway down on the inside, Cold Heart on the outside, and Cold Heart was the best horse on the day. Now, what happened since then is that Cold Heart tailed off. He ran kind of subpar in 2 subsequent races, but he hasn't started since early October. Coming in off a 2-month freshening, and trainer Phil D'Amato has been absolutely red hot this fall, actually all year, really, but specifically this fall. And Cold Heart, a fresh horse, returning to the turf course in which he already defeated Laneway, and he has a big shot in this race. I said that D'Amato entered 3. Cold Heart, Turn on the Jets, a pace presser who should or could get a good trip forwardly placed right behind the speed, and also a new shooter in from Lone Star, horse named Rebel Posse, who very difficult to make a case for on form. Lone Star horses are shippers, generally speaking, not competitive in Southern California. Okay, I want to talk about What Makes Sammy Run, who I said earlier, I think he's the best horse in the race. But why didn't I pick him? It's because of the 5 furlong trip. What Makes Sammy Run is 3 for 3 at Santa Anita. At Del Mar, he's 0 for 3. We're going to take a look at the Eddie D Stakes on October 1st at Santa Anita, and What Makes Sammy Run, rallying from behind to a solid victory over none other than Laneway in this 6.5 furlong downhill sprint. He was 18-1 this day, and you know, in hindsight, you can really make a pretty good case for him. Laneway is going to win this race as the best horse. He had a couple of bad trips at Del Mar in summer, including a runner-up finish in an allowance race in which he was floated extremely wide. So it might be premature to suggest that 5 furlongs is not the right trip for What Makes Sammy Run. It's definitely not his ideal trip, but he has run well going 5 furlongs. Mark Glad had 2 choices, the trainer of What Makes Sammy Run, who has not started since early October. The ultimate objective, short-term objective for What Makes Sammy Run is a $250,000 downhill sprint at Santa Anita on December 31st. That's the grade 2 Joe Hernandez. That's where Glatt wants to run. So he could train What Makes Sammy Run into the Hernandez. That would mean a virtual 3-month break between starts, or run him 5/8, recognizing that this is not the ideal trip for What Makes Sammy Run. He's going to start him in the race. And look, I'm not saying What Makes Sammy Run cannot win this race. I picked him 3rd, and he's a good horse. I think he's the best horse in the field. I just suspect, and so does Glatt, that 5 furlongs is not his optimum trip. Okay, so Laneway is the choice, my top choice anyway. I don't think he's a slam dunk. I do expect Cold Heart to return to form coming in off a short break. Turn on the Jets. I didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about him. He's a 2 other than eligible, but his running style allows him, or should allow him, to get a good trip, forwardly placed, right behind the speed and in front of the 3 closers, those being Laneway, Cold Heart, and What Makes Sammy Run. Long-winded way of saying Laneway is my top choice in the Stormy Liberal, but I respect Cold Heart. I respect What Makes Sammy Run. And if Turn on the Jet somehow slips through the cracks at 8-1, which I don't think is going to happen, that might be the play in the Stormy Liberal. It's race number 5. I like Laneway to win the Stormy Liberal, the first running of the Stormy Liberal. It's race 5, Saturday at Del Mar.